Because do you know that Jesus identified his gospel with his servants and identified his servants with his gospel? There was such an identification that he could say things that it took me years to be willing to face and acknowledge were in the New Testament. I'll never forget how I read, missed them for a long time. Then in that passage in Matthew 10 where he's sending out the 12, and he says, if they receive you, they get me. And if they get me, they get my Father. And if they reject you, they miss me. And if they miss me, they miss my Father. Whoever receives you receives me and my Father. You know, when I first noticed that, I thought, thank God I wasn't one of the 12. I didn't want the burden on me that if they rejected me, they missed him. That's an interesting identification of the servant of God with God himself, isn't it? So I said, thank God I'm not one of the 12. Then I read the 10th chapter of Luke. And in the 10th chapter of Luke, he sends out the 70. And he says the same thing about the 70. He says, if they receive you, they get me, and if they get me, they get my Father. And if they reject you, they miss me, and when they miss me, they miss my Father. Because, as he says in his high priestly prayer, all of us are one. We're in you, and you're in us, and we're one together. Now, so I thought, I'm glad I'm not wasn't one of the 70. Then I read the 13th chapter of John. And in the 13th chapter of John, he says broadly to his servants, whoever receives you gets me, and whoever gets me gets my Father. You know, a change came in my thinking. There's no place for looseness spiritually in the life of a servant of the Lord. Because if I'm not clean, then what comes through